All right, welcome everyone. Let's try to keep everybody muted as we start off, but we'll open it up obviously later for questions. So today's topic is marketing. First, I want to kind of talk about my experience with marketing over the years, and then we'll kick it off to Paul Stubenbort, right? I said that right, hopefully.
That is correct.
Okay, okay. So, obviously Whitehall, dealing with doctors, marketing is a big part of getting a practice to grow. And over the years, I would say it's become even a bigger part of what it takes to make a practice grow. Uh, and we used to do community mailers over the years. I think at one point we reached around 30,000 mailers. And so we have experience with marketing, and we know the challenges that come with it, but things have changed. As the digital marketing kind of kicked in, I think around 2015, 2016, all the print really started to die off and all the direct mail and everything. And by 2020, 2021 is pretty much dead. Okay. And everything led to Google, basically. Now we have people that try to dabble with Facebook and stuff, and I haven't really seen that to work. Have you, Paul?
I have not. I actually just gave a talk on that yesterday. Yeah. I think it's really important for if people are doing high-end cosmetic dentistry and they're doing everything to research your practice, it's good to have something there to find out what your practice looks like, what before and afters look like, kind of your practice culture, but it's not going to generate new patients.
Yeah, so what I saw was that after COVID or during COVID, marketing seemed pretty easy, actually. Uh, Cost per lead, getting new patients through the door wasn't really a challenge in 2020, 2021, maybe even to 2022. But by 2023, I saw something change. And I don't know what exactly. I assume it's just a dog pile, right? Just a bunch of marketing companies, a bunch of dentists turning back the old budgets, as far as marketing and this big dog pile. But I really
Mm.
saw it become a challenge with all my doctors, really, in trying to drive new patients to their practice. And it's become quite tough for all marketing companies. I know that everybody, I'm sure you think that, as an owner of a marketing company that you got everything solved, but I know it's incredibly difficult uh, you know, and I see it day to day working with people. And what I wanted to bring you on here and really talk with our clients about is what do they need to know as they interface with their marketing company, and what questions should they ask? How should they deal with them? How do they know if they're doing a good job or not? Kind of these kind of questions is where I want to take it.
Yeah. Do you want me to go
So
ahead and start?
yeah, so first, yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, so I started my career as a professional pilot and I couldn't do it. I didn't like it. I was 18, got my commercial pilot license, flew for FedEx for a little bit, and then I got lucky and decided to go to college and found that path. And I played professional golf for a little bit afterwards and realized those guys are good. And after that, I had to start sending resumes to a lot of places. I think I sent out literally 200 resumes to different types of businesses and got really lucky. And I got a job at a place called Booth Eye Care and Laser Center. This guy, it's crazy when I tell you these numbers. As a solo ophthalmologist with two optometrists and 25 employees, and we did a little over 20 million a year. He spent $4 million a year when I started working there in marketing alone. One of the best lessons I ever got in marketing. It was my second day. He calls me. He's had a little bit of Asperger's, Dr. Booth did. And he called me and he's like, "What's a Nidec laser?" I was like, "I have no idea, Dr. Booth. I just started yesterday." "This ain't Dr. Booth." I was like, "Okay, okay. Well, I don't know." He's like, "Then why you ain't answering the dang phone? It doesn't have an eye tracker. It's dangerous. Bye." About an hour later, he comes back and he puts $200 on top of the phone. I said, "Bonus already? Thanks, Dr. Booth. That ain't a dang bonus. That's what it costs just to make the phone ring from marketing. So you better not screw it up." Then he throws $4,000 on top of the phone. It's like, that's what every call's worth. Get that in your head. I worked for him for about a year and a half. And in just the sales role. So I saw patients, started on the phones, and I saw patients, what you would call a treatment coordinator. I did
Mhm.
an eye care, and realized really quickly that financing was the key to converting patients. This was just after the tech bubble of 2000. And then I became his marketing liaison, which I fell in love with. So I was working in between him and his agency and absolutely loved it. I was really good at which ads would work, which ads wouldn't. And this is in the heyday of television, radio, and print.
Mhm.
We actually gave DJs, but we gave them bonuses of $5,000 a week of whoever referred us the most patients. So we got tons of free airtime, which is a legal practice now.
Yeah.
Um, so got done with that, and I worked in ophthalmology for a number of years, and took a practice to new heights pretty quickly. And somebody wrote an article called "The LASIK Rainmaker," and that got me into basically consulting. I'd go to practices and teach them how to sell. Well, we'd work with all these different marketing companies, and they were just so lackadaisy. They took forever to get websites done. They were bad at SEO. This was before Google even came out, really. They were bad at pay-per-click marketing, and so we just started taking more and more of this on board, and I launched my company in 2006. We started in sales training, then became a full service ad agency. Um, so that's kind of my background, and I got really lucky because one of my clients was Heat and Eye Associates in Tyler, Texas, and there's a dentist named Roy Smith that was looking for a new marketing agency. So he called Heat and Eye Associates, and they told him who they work with. And I started working with Roy Smith, and he is a big sedation dentist. And we spent a fair amount of money, but it was in Tyler, Texas. So 20 to $30,000 a month. You own the market. You're everywhere. And that just led to more referrals. And today I actually have more dental clients than I do ophthalmology clients, which is kind of crazy. I think I have a little over 20 dental clients, and I think I have 15 ophthalmology clients all over the country, and one in Australia and one in London. Um, so so that's kind of the full background. And Wes, what's the next question you wanted to go over?
Yeah, so kind of bring us up to date with where we're at in the environment or the ecosystem of dentistry and marketing.
Yeah,
Like I said, after 2020, it seemed like it was very easy.
crazy easy.
Generating, yeah, getting new patients, but then it got hard. Tell us what you think is going on in the market.
Yeah. So a lot of things have changed dramatically. Um, so before COVID, the economy was really strong. During COVID, the economy was probably even stronger with disposable income.
Mhm.
But with COVID, people stayed at home. They stopped listening to the radio stations that they would listen to when they're on their commute to work. Always had a saying, I fish in the morning and I fish in the evening because that's when the fish are biting. And we used to advertise in the morning drive and the afternoon drive because that's when the people were listening.
Right.
Um, and so radio kind of just died after COVID because people already found their new online radio station. Television died way before COVID because of what?
Streaming. So,
Streaming and the DVR. I mean,
right, right.
Friends used to
Uh,
cost $8,000 to do in prime time. Now you can get prime time for cheaper than
I
you
saw
can news.
TV disappear like 2014, something like that,
Yeah,
where it started. Okay, yes.
exactly. So then
Okay.
you have traditional print's been dead for a long time. Yellow Page has been dead for a long time. In some markets, if it's a smaller market and it's like one of those tiny, tiny markets that's not surrounded by a big city, sometimes print still works, but it's very rare.
Okay.
So okay, now radio's kind of dead, TV's kind of dead. Streaming can be still relative, but it's going to be what we call OTR, over the top, which is the same thing as streaming TV, but not nearly as effective as it used to be due to it doesn't reach as many people. Um, okay, so what are we left with? We're left with online ads.
Hmm.
And that's two things, right? We have SEO, which is search engine optimization, and we have paid ads. Well, 70% of all clicks are either going to come from the top three ads on Google, or they're going to come from Google Maps, your Google My Business page where your Google reviews are. Um, and Google makes 97% of their revenue in paid search ads. That's a lot. So they're always changing something in SEO. So we have to spend more money in paid ads. SEO has become a very hard thing to do.
Oh,
Anybody
so they
that
do that
comes,
on they do that on purpose.
they do that on purpose. I've went to multiple workshops. We were actually very lucky this year. We were this number one small ad agency of the year, which I'm pretty sure they do off of conversions and what your ad spend is. And we got to spend a lot of time with some of the big shots at Google, but also some of the lead marketing guys like Neil Patel, um, who's kind of on the forefront of all SEO marketing. And he can show you data. If you lower your ad budget, your organic starts lowering. And that way you have to start spending more on ads. Google's just had a whistleblower put out a 2,500 Word document on its algorithm. And what we always thought was true, 80% of it was, but 20% was completely the opposite of what they told us. They always told us new content. You need links coming to your website. You need to always be doing a
Right.
blog. And it's really traffic. Traffic was the number one key to ranking in AdWords. What drives traffic to a website? Google AdWords. More you spend on Google AdWords, the higher you
The more,
rank.
the more traffic you get.
Yeah. So then we have then we have a lot of competitors getting in that space now.
Right.
There's one dentist for every there's 60 dentists for every 100,000 patients in the US. I think that roughly works out to 138 patients a month. Um, so to be a practice that's getting 60 new patients a month is incredibly hard to do. To get 150 new patients a month is really, really hard to do. If you run free exam and x-ray campaigns, you get a lot of tire kickers. If you run free exam and x-rays with a new patient cleaning, it's much better because now you're eliminating some of the tire kickers. But if you leave out the word free in your ad, I mean, you're almost going to be obliterated simply because of your competition. And there's so many people giving away the farm these days. And new patients, unfortunately, are looking for deals. People are slowly, actually quickly running out of money. We
Mhm.
all know this. Um, Before COVID, only less than 30% of people had to tap into their credit card or their monthly savings to pay their bills. That number is close to 90% now. So it's getting incredibly hard. I just met with Alphion and Care Credit at a meeting in May, and we all sat down together in a big room. There's about 100 people, and they shared some staggering stats with us that 70% of their loans, both companies, were in the age group of 40 and under 10 years ago. Now 70% of the loans are 45 and above, simply because the people under 45, their FICO scores have dropped quite a bit because their debt to income ratios dropped quite a bit. So it's really hard to do marketing. Sometimes we get a new client, it's super easy, and we would just turn on the lights and everything starts coming through. It's amazing. Sometimes we get a new client and it's harder. It could be the competition. It could be the client's not who they think they are. They're in an outdated building. They're in an outdated part of town where there's no growth. We've taken on a couple clients that they're not Whitehall clients, but they're other clients that work in dentistry or that are in towns that are in a negative population decline if you look at the census, and that's a tough one. But I think everybody needs to look at what they're doing at marketing right now, look at what their ad agency, if they have one, is doing right now. And what we always say is, we just did a talk how to know if your advertising agency is asleep at the wheel.
That's what I'd like you to talk about, if you wouldn't
Hmm.
mind. That's what I think a lot of these people really should take some notes and try to figure out if their company is really performing. So
I think
yeah.
the number one way is, a lot of people, even me, I'm guilty of it as well because we're getting a lot of new clients because they need help. Everybody seems to be on a decline, but because they're on a decline, they can't pay us more as an ad agency, right? Than we
Mhm.
used to get 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But we have to pay our employees more because of inflation. So I think a lot of agencies are running on a very thin bandwidth. They don't have a lot of
Well,
bandwidth.
yeah, kind of one of the things I thought was probably going on is these ad agencies, they cropped up, and they built these buildings and created huge overhead, right? They created this overhead
Yeah,
based on
I'm guilty
based
of
on
that too.
yeah, based on 10 year ago model, how the environment was then. And now as that everything gets squeezed, they really can't drop their prices. They really have to, and they can't provide this level of service that's required now.
That we used to. And I'll get to that in just a second when we talk about AI, because I think that's an important savior in many ways for dentists and agencies. But you're exactly right. You know, we if you look at our advertising agency prior to COVID, and it has nothing to do with COVID, Wes. It has to do with a lot of our clients were bought out by private equity partners. So
Mhm.
our biggest clients in ophthalmology we worked with for 20 years got bought out, and they have their own agencies, usually in-house. These
Yeah.
were for us $10,000 a month retainers. So ours, and we had 20 something employees. We had a giant office space. I was spending $15,000 a month for, because we had to spend it to be downtown Dallas to get these new grads coming out of college to work at the cool space. And
Mhm.
it was hard to attract these really talented guys and or girls out of college. And so we were struggling. We were struggling for getting employees to come to work for us. Number one, nobody wanted to come to work for us because we moved back to Trophy Club, nice part of town. But not only did they not want to come into an office, they wanted to work from home. You know, and that was a tough one to deal with. I'm sure every practice has dealt with, can I answer the phone call from home?
Yeah.
Um, so ad agencies, we had to reinvent ourselves. We really did. We had to figure out what we can do to provide the same service as we did before. And we did it in two different ways. Instead of hiring employees, we have 4 employees, but I have almost 20 freelancers. So we have overflow, and they're amazing people, and they're super talented. They do coding for us. They help design our websites, design our logos. The one thing I never take out of house is Google AdWords. It's too much liability for me, and it's something that I oversee every second, probably 7 of 8 hours a day during office hours. I'm on Google.
Mhm.
But and the other thing is artificial intelligence. Has anybody used ChatGPT that's on this meeting?
Yeah,
Has
I
anybody
have.
not used ChatGPT that's on this meeting? It's like the best personal assistant you could ever ask for in the world. Um, there's a lot of things that you can use it for, but we use it for a lot of content writing. But you can't just type up a sentence and put in a prompt and have it write it. You have to add more prompts, and you have to go and
You like
humanly
coach it.
edit
You have to
it.
like coach it, right?
You have to
Like,
coach it. Yeah. In
yeah.
fact, if you thank ChatGPT, say, that's a really well written sentence, thank you so much, it'll actually write better for you. It's
Right.
trained as a human. Um, for analyzing data, it's amazing. So before, I'd have to go through Google AdWords and say, what's wrong? I'd have to look at all of these different factors. Um, and sometimes none of it made sense to me. Chat GPT, you upload analytics into it, and it'll tell you not as much as what you're doing wrong, but it'll tell you what the competitors are doing right and how they're outspending you, what keywords they're using that you're not using. If you're bidding on keywords, are they outbidding you? Incredible stuff that would have taken us 2 weeks to do is ran in a 30-minute report now, ran in a 30-second report.
How do other companies, I assume they're doing this, right? Or no?
Not
How many?
all of them.
So, so that's one way they could be asleep at the switch.
So to know if you're asleep,
How do you identify that? So
great
they all
question.
get these reports of keywords every month,
Yep.
uh, and should they see massive changes? Is that how they?
I'll tell you the oldest trick in a book for an SEO company. They'll send you keyword reports, but they always send you the good ones. What you shouldn't have 1,000 keywords you're trying to optimize for. You should have 40 keywords you're trying to optimize for. They're always going to be the name of your city that you're in. So let's just say you're a dentist in Chicago.
Mhm.
The number one keywords can be found on something called SEMrush. You can just put in I think it's even a free report you can run. You can just put in your website or what you are, and it'll spit out the top keywords for you, like what the most traffic is going to websites for. Those are the keywords you want to use, not these weird ones like buccal occlusal. You don't want to use any of those words. And they don't need to have your practice name in it, and they don't need to have the doctor's name in it. Those don't matter because you're going to be found number one organically almost 100% of the time. So you should be getting the same keyword report from your agency every single month. And And I'll tell you the biggest thing for us is accountability in meetings. If we have a meeting and we go over our keywords, we like to meet with our clients, say, okay, these are the keywords for each location. Gosh, this one dropped a lot. So our goal for that next meeting, when we have a meeting the following month with our client, is hopefully we can prove to that client those keywords have went up.
When you say
So
drop a lot, what is that? So,
a good
so
point.
take dental cleaning, or just take
Sure.
emergency dental or whatever. And when you say keyword dropped, so does that mean like if I was getting 200 clicks a month and then it dropped down to 75? Is that what you mean? Like
Not clicks, position on Google. So when they're going to run a positioning report for you, typically through something called agency analytics, or they can actually get it from the Google analytics report. They can get your keywords to you a lot of different ways, but it's going to show number one through like number 10, where you're on Google. Number one is actually number one in Google Maps, not below the maps. Number four would be the first listing organically under the Google Maps with those reviews. So there's a joke: where's the best place to hide a dead body? Page two of Google, because nobody will ever find it. Okay. And it's so true. In fact, if you're positioned in number 8 on Google, you're going to get less than 1% of the traffic coming to that search page.
so
Because
when they
most,
so when they look at this report,
Mhm.
it's saying where they rank for these keywords. When they see anything below 5 and 6, it's basically dead.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you got to have to remember 70% of the traffic's coming from the top three search ads. And we're just talking about organic listings right now,
Right.
or they're coming from the maps. To get in the maps is the key with if you have a lot of reviews. If you don't have a lot of reviews or you have bad reviews, very hard to get into maps. Plus, you don't want to advertise that you have bad reviews. And a lot of practices have two Google My Business pages, one for the practice and one for the doctor. The doctor one always has very few reviews, and usually it's the worst reviewed of the pages. And you want to check it from time to time, type in your doctor name, what city you're in, to see how your Google reviews are doing. So if you're not in the top three in Google Maps, okay, you're losing out on 70% of the traffic. So the other three below the maps is getting the other 30% of the traffic. So that's going to be position 4 through 6, and anything past that's just worthless. Um, Now I'll tell
Oh,
you,
can
you
I go
do,
back to maps? Can I
yeah,
go back to maps?
yeah.
So when you say a lot of Google reviews, that means you've got to have the most in the area, right? Most second or third.
it's
Not,
it's it's important to have a lot of reviews, and I can do a screen share if you want me to show you what
yeah,
that means. Yeah, okay.
yeah.
You
Let
just
me.
need to go to security and enable screen sharing.
Uh, I don't know how to do that.
So on the bottom you
But I'm
see
gonna
that little
make you the host. So if I make you the host, you can do a screen share.
okay. So we're gonna screen share. Okay, so this is basically this is my website. So we're gonna go to Google and we're gonna search for, say, Brandon, Mississippi dentist. Okay, so here we have the winning smile with 941 reviews, and then we have 347 reviews. We have Germany Dental with 1,000 reviews. Now, Germany Dental is my client. They used to be number one last week. Winning Smile's taken over. Look where Germany fell. They fell to fourth. I'm not worried about that because if I go in and change, this is the title tag. This is what it says the page is about. If I go change this, I could potentially lose our ranking right here. We have the most reviews, but I have to change it because if I don't change this title tag, eventually we're going to fall out of this spot and we're going to keep going down. So we've worked on changing. We just changed it yesterday, actually. So we went and changed this title tag. And see, this is called the meta tag. See how it has dental and Brandon in the meta tag description?
Mhm.
Very important. So you always want to make sure that you have whatever your targeted keyword is, and this is dentist, dental, and the word Brandon.
Mhm.
And you also, that's your title tag. The most important thing you could have on your website is your homepage title tag. And your homepage your homepage meta tags is second most important. Again, you want to target those keywords. If you're doing dental implants, leave that on your dental implant page. You'll dental implant landing page would have your dental implant keywords and the geographical keywords also in the meta tag. So we get
You're always messing with this.
all the time because this is the lifeblood. My kids always joke around and say I don't have a boss. I have 40 bosses. And
Right.
then they have another five people at the practices that are my bosses. And I get calls constantly, or my team does every single day. Hey, we're slow on new patients. What can we do? And the main thing for me is, do we have a solid foundation? What's a solid foundation? Are we answering the phone properly? Are we answering email leads properly? Email leads have to be answered within 5 to 10 minutes. If you don't answer email lead that comes to your website in 5 to 10 minutes, you have less than a 30% chance of reaching the patient. They've already gone on to another practice. They're off their lunch break and they're out of their peak interest. So we check all of that. Then we check, how are we doing in Google Maps? How are our ads doing if we're running ads? And then how does our SEO look? So,
And so with other companies, I got a feeling it's more like set it and forget it. That how much are they really working on this stuff?
most companies that say they only do SEO and that we can, if they ever make you a promise, like we can get you to the top, it's
Mhm.
just not true. I'm going to show you, I'm going to just be truthful with you. Like, this is Temecula, California, Dennis. Okay. This is my client, Temecula. So I work with Rancho. I work with Ethos there, and I work with Rancho a little bit. So Rancho, we're doing good. Now,
Mhm.
Rancho and Ethos are in the same parking lot. Um, but you could tell, look at these reviews. They both outdo the others dentists in the area by far on Google reviews. This practice has two dentists. They see about 120 new patients a month, and they do pretty well. Rancho is almost the twin. Now, the only reason I'm working with both is one's about to buy the other. But Ethos Advanced Dental Care used to be called Nash Dental Care. They went through a branding change about 8 months ago. Nash Dental Care was always number one. We were always number one here. And I have done everything in the world in my capabilities to get us to number one. And we just bounce back and forth. I mean, so if I'm like a leading marketing expert and I've done everything I can, I still haven't gotten us there permanently. Last couple days ago, we were number three in Google Maps. We were number two organically, but I mean, that's all I can do. I can't do anything else. This website now has to get what's called a domain trust. It has to get more time with Google. We have to keep changing the content, doing more blogs. So with an agency, if you want to check to make sure when they send those monthly reports, or just type in something like whatever your demographical geographical keyword is in the word dentist. If you're not in the top three in Google Maps, or in the top three here, have a conversation with them. The following month, you want to see what they've done to get you higher. But most SEO companies don't do anything. They set it, forget it, don't ever get back to you.
That's my experience with 90% of marketing companies that I've, and of course that's what I do. I work with marketing companies, and
Yeah.
they don't look at any of this stuff, and I'm constantly having to prod them. And I don't know. Yeah, obviously I'm not an expert, but I know they're not doing anything.
It's very true. So you have to use these crazy tools like SEMrush. And SEMrush will basically tell you what you're doing well, what you're not doing well. And
So give us an example. Yeah.
so here's Germany Dental. Okay. So our
So
authority score.
could I go into this SIMrush and
Mhm.
type in this and see the same information?
So let's go ahead and just open up a private window here, and I'll show you what you can see for free.
Okay.
And there's really two tools I'm going to show you actually. So this is SEMrush. You can type in. So give me like a practice name. Let's just come up with. Uh, let's see. Let's find a practice. Smile Maker, Texas. So you can continue here. Basically creating an account. Um,
we can't see, we can only see the starter page.
oh,
What happened?
sorry, it's not going to pop up. Let me see if this will work. Let's go to SEO site checkup because this one's going to be easier. So this is SEOsitecheckup.com. This is a great way to see the health of your website for free.
Okay.
So let's type in SmileMaker, Texas.
And this is not one of your clients, just a random
They
website.
are one of my clients. And I'm going to tell you a funny story about it. I don't do their website. I don't do their SEO. This
Oh,
client, this client's
okay.
67. He has hired and fired me 4 times in 2 years. Every time he fires me, he realizes he made a mistake and hires me back. So he signed a year contract with a company called uh, My Advice. And I said, okay, I was just so sick of it. I was like, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. And we were doing $350,000 a month in a brand new location with 4 employees. I mean, it's crazy. All cosmetic dentistry, 100% big cosmetic dentistry. So this will give you what your site score is. Um, this is Vision-Surgery. This is a website we just took over. I was going to show you SmileMaker
What,
Texas.
when you see 84 out of 100, what
That's
number are
pretty
you?
good. So
Okay, so
anything over 70 is going to be good.
okay.
Um, so anything over 70 is going to be good. These are warnings, like things you need to fix. This is this is a this will tell you like, do your meta tags work? Are you using the right meta tags?
What's a meta tag?
The meta tag is when we did that Google search earlier for
Oh,
like Dallas.
the bottom
It's
tag.
Yeah, so it's the one under the blue description. Yeah, so like Dallas dentist.
Hmm.
Um, this is your meta tag. This is your meta tag. This is your title tag. This is your meta tag.
Okay, gotcha.
So are you using the right meta tags, or do you have a meta tag at all? This meta tag is failing the test because it's a little too long. This is the title tag, actually. It's a little too long. They're saying it's not going to read the whole thing. It's going to cut off 5 characters.
Hmm.
But this is a good example of, is your website healthy? And I'll tell you the number one problem with websites is it's slow. They're slow, slow, slow. And Google has something called um, core vitals. So if you don't pass core vitals, you will heavily not get crawled and they will not rank you.
Core
Um,
vitals. How do you test that?
yep. So we're gonna go here. So this is
What's it
uh,
called? The
I'm gonna let me get there real quick. Run insights. It's gonna be this one right here, Wes. So page speed.web.developer.
Lori, can you make sure you write that down and email it to everybody so that these kind of special links and stuff, so that everybody has this, you know. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so let's just find somebody on page 3. And this one looks good. So what's wrong with that website when I open it up? Could you tell? It kind of took a second to load, right?
Okay.
And I just picked a random site. Has a video on it. And it tests mobile first. Why? 90% of all your traffic is mobile.
Right.
So a lot of times when we design websites, we're trying to get in the habit of designing the mobile website first for the client, and they don't understand. They want to see the desktop site, but most important site is the mobile. So this one, you can just tell it loaded really slow even when analyzing it. Um,
And what number are you looking for here, you know? So
seven.
SEO 85, that's good compared, right? But
So this would be SEO, like the on-page SEO, the title tags, the meta tags,
right.
and basically that part of SEO. But performance has a big part to do with SEO, and that's how fast your website's loading.
And
Um,
and what no so they're saying, and to be in the green, it looks like you gotta be 90 to 100 in
yeah,
that.
70 is the very minimum you can be to really rank well. That's why I picked a website that was on third page. The reason this website's not doing well, I can just tell you, you don't even have to look into it. It's that video they have loaded. It's not it's not HTML5. They actually loaded the whole like 300 gigabyte video or megabyte video on their website, and it's pulling from that. So unfortunately, if you're not using a certain codecs when you upload that video, every time a person goes to that website, it's not going to remember that video in cache, and it's just going to load slow. Um, if you don't pass core vitals, it would tell you here. It would say you didn't pass core vitals, Wes.
Hmm.
And if you don't pass core vitals, you won't rank at all. It'll be on like page 6. So you'll get a warning here. So this is a good one for everybody to kind of test that. It's going to be again this domain to kind of test your own website, as well as this one, which is SEO site checkup. Those are free tools. SEMrush is a lot more complicated. This is where we live in our world as web developers. And there's people a lot smarter than I am going through here and finding out what we can do better, how we can always change it. Like errors pop up on your website all the time. And it's nothing that your web company did wrong. Things break, just like a crown can break. And when these errors come up, we have to go fix them. So every Tuesday, we have a meeting. We go through every website and find every error. Some errors aren't important. It could be like a page that used to be on the old website and it's in our sitemap, but we deleted that page. That'll show up as an error saying that page can't be crawled. It could be something like you're doing PST or some weird procedure 10 years ago and you decided you're not going to do it anymore. You deleted it, but it's still in your sitemap. Google crawls it and it's sending you an error saying, hey, that's page in there.
How often do other companies really check for errors? Is that something that they do?
That's why I started doing all of this stuff. I don't think they do it all. Um, and I think any company that's charging 500 or $1,000 a month for SEO
It's doing nothing,
is
right?
doing nothing. Because I can tell you, I have to spend $300 a month per practice just on this software. Just on this software, I have to spend another probably 10 hours of time with an employee making $50 an hour to analyze the software. And I'm not going to go through all that trouble and all that heartache for a $200 possible, profit.
Right, right,
And we wrap everything into a bundle when we do marketing. So we have this retainer that includes everything because I
right.
hate piecemealing it because I don't want somebody else to be responsible for new patients if I'm also responsible for new patients. Um, if you're doing Google AdWords, does anybody do Google AdWords? If you do,
A lot of our people do, yeah.
so if you do Google AdWords, there's two things that every company that's reputable is going to do. One is going to be called click Cs. We remember how we talked about 97% of
click
Google's.
these. Spell that
Yep.
as small,
Click like clicking a mouse,
right?
and then Cs. It's C like a
Okay,
uh, CEASE. Yep.
okay,
Click Cs is a way to prevent artificial traffic coming to your Google campaign. So there's something called click farms,
yep.
and click farms
Yes,
are basically these robots that are being built to go and click your ads, and they'll create a VPN and they'll change your IP address, and they'll just go click on your ads, and you're getting all these like clicks and no leads. Well, why is that happening? Simply because you are getting these click farms. So let's see here. And if you ever wondered, like, if somebody competitor can click on your ad all the time,
yeah, can they do that?
they can, but you'll only be charged for one click.
Okay,
Because it'll only charge per IP address. So for example, Long Branch Dental, this is just this week alone, it's blocked 69 IP addresses due to fraudulent clicks. The reason for the fraudulent clicks are typically going to be VPNs. These are, what a VPN is, right? It's you can upload a VPN and be in Scotland if you wanted to. A lot
yeah.
of times, if I'm traveling internationally, like to Cancun or something, and I want to watch my direct TV at home, I can't. So I get a VPN to say I'm in America.
So,
So
are these click farms doing this to this site? Is that what's happening?
to all websites, so to every website. So you need to have you need to have ClickSees to get rid of potential hacks coming into your organic website and also to your ads.
How many people, how do all marketing companies do this then? I take it, no?
No, I mean, I would say less than 10% use ClickCs. Anybody that's big, anybody that's probably doing over $10,000 a month in marketing per client that knows what they're doing uses ClickCs because it's like the greatest thing ever. But there's a lot of companies out there that just don't have they just don't take the time to even set it up because they forget, they're not organized. Um,
And how
and
much does this cost them? What's this cost, per client, like
this
if
is
so,
included in our retainers.
I know, but
If
like
you
if
get it
it was,
yourself, it's like $49 a month.
okay. Yeah.
And you can see with this campaign, this is Village Dental. There's a lot of fraudulent devices, and what that means is um, this is literally a server outside of a country that's using both VPNs and fraudulent devices, and um, that could be like it's just basically a server room, Wes, that it is designed to go and click on your website. So this saves us thousands and thousands of dollars a month per client. I mean, if they're spending a lot of money.
So if you're
Probably
not
20, huh?
So if they're you're not doing if this is not set up, at least 20% of their budget's being eat up by fake people is basically what you're saying.
That is correct. Yeah. Um, and then so make sure that you check, see if they're using ClickCs because it'll stop your website from potentially getting hacked. It'll stop your website from getting traffic from all over the country. It'll stop people from getting it'll stop your website from getting possible spam, and even more importantly, it'll stop your email from getting ransomware. I don't know if you've ever dealt with ransomware, but it's a nightmare. Um, and for, the security blanket of $50 a month, it's great. So the last thing I'm going to show you is Google AdWords. um, Google AdWords, of course, is where we spend most of our money. This is starting to change. We're starting to spend money in DuckDuckGo, which is a search engine that came out a few years ago. It's used by a lot of conservative people that don't want their data
Fine.
tracked.
Yeah, track.
And typically, these people have more money than the people that don't have money. And also, it's uh, it's growing in market share by leaps and bounds. It's depending on what market you're in. Dallas has a 12% market share. There's almost no advertisers in dentistry. So I'll just go to um, client here, and we want to go to change history. So when you do a campaign, one way you can see if your advertising agency is asleep at the wheel in terms of AdWords, and this is a great way, is to go look at change history. So you should all have access to your account. A lot of ad agencies won't give you administrative access because if you fire them, they say
Right.
this is their data. Some will. But if you're
But you
logged,
you should have access to be able to see this.
you should always have access to your AdWords account. Yep.
Okay, and so
Um,
go to change history.
you go to change history and you
Okay.
can see what changes have been made.
Ha.
Um, and so when somebody's like, hey, we made changes in your Google account, your Gmail account, um, and did they really? I'll tell clients all the time I made changes in the Google account only because I know it's maxed out and I there's nothing I can do. So I won't go make changes. Um,
But you can
because
see, the point is you can see how often they're actually going in here
working on
and
the
checking
account.
your
That's
account.
exactly right. You can also add something into your website too, a plugin that tracks changes. So you can see when they went and made changes to in your website, made text changes, added blogs, all that stuff.
What's that called?
There's a bunch of different options. So you can just type in like, um, and I use it for my staff, honestly, to make sure my staff's doing their job.
Mhm.
Um, see if I can find. Yeah, WP Activity Log is probably the best one. It's already probably installed if you have an updated WordPress site. So you can just go to the activity log and it'll show you exactly what's going on in your account, what changes have been made.
Well, there you go. That's how you know if they're working for you or not.
Yeah, and I've even, taken on clients where they were locked into an SEO contract, Wes, and I had admin rights to the website, and I knew they weren't doing anything because I looked at this activity log.
Hmm.
We use also Jetpack a lot too. Um, so what I did was I removed them as a user from WordPress, and then we had a call with them. It's like, how's SEO going? Great, great. Y'all made a lot of changes lately. Oh yeah, we've went in and optimized some content, changed some content, optimized some keywords, updated the plugins. Really? Well, you haven't had access to the website for 2 months. That's where we catch them. So
So,
there's a few good tools.
if from what you're saying and what I'm hearing, it's a lot of manual labor
Yeah,
to really run a good marketing campaign online.
it's a ton of work.
Right. And so if you're spending 500 or $1,000 a month for the retainer part of it, meaning this is what the company gets to keep. This is not
Yeah,
AdWord budgets. They're not doing any of this.
probably not. There's some really good people out there that and there's some good people out there that work their butts off for $1,000 a month retainer, but they're probably not really doing all of this. They can't afford to.
Well,
Um,
that would be smaller companies. These large companies, I can't imagine them
oh, you're
doing.
talking about large companies. Yeah, there's a lot of large companies out there. In dentistry especially. I'm trying to think of the one that builds websites. But they
There's a
build,
ton. They crop up every day.
but
I
yeah,
hear new ones every day.
there's lots, and they'll charge you like say a $400 a month retainer that includes a new website, SEO, and social media support. And
Right.
there's absolutely no way they can do SEO for $400 a month. I mean, we spend money on link building and press releases. We bill those back to the client if we need to do one. So let's say we're weak in dental implants, or let's say we're weak in IV sedation dentistry. We've done everything we can with title tags and meta tags and on-page content. The only thing next we can do is link building, and we're going to do that through getting links on like local TV station websites. We're going to get links through radio station websites, and we're going to get links through press releases. Press release is a secret weapon. Basically, you can do a press release on PR Web and get 1,000 links instantaneously. Only problem is they go away after about 60 days, and you have to do another one.
You have to just keep on doing them. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I would say the average retainer, I would say the average marketing budget for a practice is anywhere between 3 and 5%. If a practice is trying to grow 7 to 10% sometimes.
Right.
And it just depends on how big your practice is and how much it's spending, um, of what the agency is going to charge you. Like our minimal retainer is 2,500 a month, and it goes up to about 7,500 a month if it's a gigantic ophthalmology practice with 250 employees in 8 locations. But I mean, you should definitely be just checking these things. And if you're really trying to grow and make an effort in marketing, you probably need to have a really good agency that's giving you reports.
All right, great. Well, I learned a lot. So this is all stuff that I didn't really know. So and a lot of great tools for our clients to double check what's going on and see what they can fix. Does anybody have any questions? And if you have a question, you can unmute. Uh, okay, so anything else, Paul, that you would recommend people do? Is there anything uh
Yeah,
yeah, okay, that could be helpful for our people to to get an increase, from what they're doing with their current marketing company?
I would just say the best thing you can do is have a really good meeting with your marketing company, and really sit down and say, here's where we are and what is it going to take to really get there. And I think they need to have your agency needs to have a really good, honest conversation with you, because marketing is harder than ever before. To get new patients is harder than ever before. And the cost of marketing is going up astronomically. It really is. I think I think the best thing you can do is have a conversation where you are, where you want to be, and what is it going to take to get there. It could take 3 months before you start getting those numbers. Um, and honestly, they could start a campaign for you, and myself included, and not get the numbers at all because we thought we could get there, but we just can't. And the only way to do it is try it. Um, and I would say the other thing is, using Chat GPT is great. If you don't use it, you can ask it almost anything. Um, in fact, the stat I got on how many dentists uh, per 100,000 population came from Chat GPT. And you can ask it, my practice domain is this, just copy and paste your domain in it and say, compared to my competitors in this market, how well am I doing? And it'll give you a really good explanation. If it's a little too technical for you, you can say dumb it down for a 12-year-old, and it'll dumb it down to it'll start using ice cream analogies. It's pretty cool. Um, but I would say an honest conversation and give it 3 months to work is all you can do. And if it doesn't work, see if they're actually going into your website, see if they're actually making changes in
Use these
AdWords,
tools,
use
right?
these tools. And if they're not, you just got an agency that's not really doing their job.
Okay, great. Paul, thank you. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot.
Good.
Yeah, I was very curious about what's changed, over the last couple of years. And it's getting harder and harder and harder. And I think that it's probably going to continue to get harder uh, until some point where people just drop out. They can't afford to spend the money anymore.
The biggest change coming is Google's going away, Wes. I really do believe Google's going to go the way of the dodo. And I know that's crazy to even think of, but Chat GPT is ran off NVIDIA. NVIDIA, if you've never heard of NVIDIA, about 2 months ago, it was the most valuable company in the world. It's the first company to ever get to $1 trillion in company value. NVIDIA started by a guy that was working as assistant manager to the assistant. He was working as the assistant to the assistant manager at Denny's back in the 90s. And in 93, him and his friends, two friends that were both computer geeks, decided to start a company called NVIDIA. I think it's
Game,
Greek for
game,
envy. And basically in gaming, right? Because I'm sure you've heard the word CPU. CPUs going the way of the dodo too. They made something because the CPU is like this thing that has like two processors, but it can only feed data one bit at a time. Well, graphic interfaces have like 12 um, processors that can process 12 bits of information at a time. And it just expanded. Now it's up to trillions of processes per second. Trillions. More than there are sands on the pieces of sand on the entire earth it can process in 1 second. And NVIDIA is the reason that we're able to have
AI,
AI.
right?
And they don't use this 1 trillion per second processor or GPU. They use 50,000 of them. And because of this, people are starting to use Chat GPT more for a search engine now. So Chat GPT or OpenAI is coming out with their own
Search.
search, and that's going to change everything. Imagine a
Oh, that's gonna,
practice where we're getting 400 new patients a month from Google or 200 new patients a month from Google, and all of a sudden Chat GPT takes over. What's going to happen?
if you're
Yeah,
not in the game, if you don't know what you're doing, if you
yeah.
slip at the switch, you go to zero.
So
Uh,
there's more
but
changes
that's
coming.
coming. That's coming.
Could be good
Probably,
or bad. Don't know yet.
yeah. What's the time frame, would you guess?
I would say they'll have a search engine out in about 18 months or less. Actually, I just came back from a conference in Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, and 18 months or less. And they don't know when they're going to monetize it is the other problem. So right, so they're gonna have their own way of doing search engine optimization. Google came out with its algorithm, which was based off page ranks and how many links came to you. Now we know it's actually not. It's traffic coming to your site. What's NVIDIA going to use, or what's OpenAI going to use Chat GPT? And then when are they going to monetize it for paid
Ad,
ads? which they will. You know, DuckDuckGo just started doing it
But that
last year
means that you have to get really good at their algorithm or chat
and figure out what it is, right?
algorithm. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's crazy stuff. Crazy
Okay.
stuff.
All right.
Keeps me going.
Yep. All right. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a
Okay.
great weekend.
All right.